2014 Harley Davidson 48 oil change and clutch adjustment at the 5,000 mark. This is basically what the handbook and the Chilton calls for. This is what they're going to be doing wherever you bought your bike. If you take it in to get it serviced, they're going to do like a 17-point inspection. This is one of the major things that the Chilton calls for them to do, which I do it myself because I'm not paying $200 to get this done. You can do it yourself if you're handy with a wrench. Take your derby cover off, which they are 27 torques. A 27 torque is what the size of these bolts are. Their derby cover you want to set down off, not on the finished side. You don't want to scratch it. You do it however you want. Basically, there's a spring sitting in here, which sometimes they'll fall out. You just want to lift that out. You take your screwdriver, a flat blade screwdriver, and you wind back this little nut that's in here counterclockwise until you feel a little bit of tension. You can go a little bit farther, but the tension is at around the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock position. And all you do is once you get it there, like I say, you can feel a little tension on it. It starts to want to stop. You don't want to force it anymore. Turn it back to about the 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock position. That is it. And you take your spring, which only goes on basically one way. It's got two shoulders on it that fit over the screw or the nut, just like that. Basically the derby cover holds it back on, and then as you can see, this is your clutch cable. There's two ways to adjust it. There's a little bit of play in here. You want some play, you don't want it totally tight, because if you do that, you're going to wear your clutch. It's going to be like pushing your clutch in before you've pushed it in. So I'll show you how to adjust that in a second. This is also how you check your transmission fluid or gear oil, which is basically what it is. I can feel it with my finger when I dip it down in there. Basically, what you want to do is look at the gear oil. This isn't doing it any justice because there's not enough light. Can't really see down in there. It's supposed to be about a quarter inch above the teeth line on the clutch plates. Cannot be below them or it won't be doing any good. The teeth got to be down in the gear oil. Basically, we're good on that. We don't need, the Chilton doesn't suggest changing it at 5,000 miles, just checking it. And it also calls for this clutch adjustment that I just did. I am by no means a Harley mechanic, but I've done lots of research on how to do this. This is my first time, so I am doing it. Basically, the other adjustment for the clutch is right here. I've already pulled the boot down. As you can see right here, it's a size 14 wrench. Basically, this is your lock nut. You back that off, and you can adjust it with this. You still want some play. Your clutch lever, which mine has a little bit too much, so I'm going to be adjusting that. It's a simple adjustment. Basically, they do about a 14 or maybe it's a 17-point inspection. Basically, all they're checking is they're checking for fuel leaks on your fuel pump. You can feel on there, make sure there's no fuel on your hand. Check the lines, make sure they're on there good. And basically, you're checking your brake lines to do the same thing. Make sure there's no leaks. Checking your brake pads. Checking your, I don't know if you can see this, your belt. You want to check all the little teeth on it, so to speak. Make sure there's no notches or divots or tears. You also want to check the tension. which they say to use about 10 pounds of pressure when you're pushing up on it, which is basically supposed to be about a ½ inch of play maximum on it. Checking your front and rear brake lines just to make sure there's no leaks. You can physically see this is part of the inspection that they do there, other than changing your oil, which I've already done. Oil, new oil filter, takes 3 quarts of 2050. You can use synthetic or regular Harley Davidson oil. I use regular Harley Davidson oil because that's what most of them suggest. There's a big oil debate online. I'm finding out about what's right and what's not right. I chose to use authentic Harley oil. Some people like synthetic, semi-synthetic. That's up to you. It's your bike. Anyway, I'm going to put the derby cover back on here. And basically, I'm going to make sure there's no debris or dirt or anything on here. There is a way it goes on. As you can see, there's writing on the inside of the derby cover. This is where that spring fits in. And this little divot here goes towards the clutch cable on the case. You don't want to try to put it on like this. You want it to go this way. So all you do, kind of look at the spring, boom, and on there like that. You're supposed to torque these down according to the handbook to about 100 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds.